Hi, and welcome to Molly's Journalism Podcast. In today's episode, I took a day out to Cardiff to meet up with Tom Davis, who's studying journalism himself and has an interest in fake news. Tom is a part of the Journalism Society and is going to New Zealand in January to continue his journalism studies. Therefore, Tom was the perfect person to interview today. So, let's get straight into it. Hi Tom, thank you for taking the time to be here today. This interview is going to be based around the topic of fake news, so I'm going to be asking you a few questions. Firstly, what is your knowledge of fake news?
Well, fake news has really evolved, and it's a term which has become to mean a lot of different things to different people. I mean, fundamentally, we are defining fake news as a story which is false. By saying that, we mean the story is fabricated, no verifiable facts, sources, or quotes are used within the story.
So, why do you think people create fake news then?
So throughout politics today, we're constantly seeing fake news used as propaganda, which is designed to intentionally mislead readers. And another reason why fake news is used is for clickbait. So this is for economic incentives. So the writer profits from the amount of people who click on their story. And the rise and the acceleration of this throughout the news journalism world has really been proliferated by social media.
Yes, social media is definitely the main cause of the spread of fake news. So, does fake news affect you in any way as a journalism student?
Well, for me as a journalism student, I feel as though in my case, and particularly a lot of people who I study with, the issue isn't particularly us for fake news, because as a journalism student, you learn about where to verify your facts and you know how to cross-reference different news channels in order to check whether news is real, and the importance of not only getting your news from one place. Never take all your news from just Facebook, never take all your news from just what you're emailed, always cross-reference, always read from different references. I think what really troubles me as a journalism student is thinking about what about those people who don't know where to cross-reference their news? What about those people who don't know how to check different news sources? More vulnerable members of society, perhaps. People who haven't had as good education. That's what's really worrying, because in order to maintain a healthy democracy, it's really important that everyone is given a fair and equal view of what is going on in the world and what's going on around them in order for them to make judgments. So yeah, just to sum that up really, the issue for me as a journalism student is if I do go on to be a journalist and I do create some good work, will that work be overshadowed if not enough people in society have the education to understand what is good journalism, what should be believed, and what should be viewed, instead of this fake news which is kind of cracking the healthy democracy which we have in the world?
Yeah, definitely. So, how could future journalists prevent fake news?
Preventing fake news is a real tricky one, actually, just because the media environment is so unregulated online. Social media, there's thousands and millions of posts every second all the way around the world. And although efforts are being made by social media companies to stop fake news, it's a really tricky battle that they're fighting at the moment. I mean, essentially, algorithms are used to spread fake news. And algorithms can be used to stop the spread of fake news too. And I think this is a really important area, and I think there'll be a lot of development over the next coming months and years. We'll see a lot more of algorithms being used to fight algorithms. So to give an example, if a link is posted on a website and an algorithm can detect that that website was only created 2 weeks ago, therefore it's probably not much of a trustworthy website compared to sites like the BBC, ITV, Sky News, which have all been online for years, posting regular updates. So if we can use algorithms to start fighting fake news, to fill a gap which human eyes and human monitors online can't, then I think that would be a really good step that journalists could take to start fighting fake news.
Yeah, good advice, Tom. So, how do you identify fake news, and can you provide us with any tips for those who are struggling to identify it?
So I can give 4 tips for evaluating news in order to identify whether it's a fake news story or not. The first one would be to look at the publisher's credibility. So would that publishing site meet academic citation standards? Take a look at the domain name of the site. Is it .co.uk? Is it .com? For example, you might visit a news story on abcnews.com and a fake news site might be operating under abcnews.com.co. So they use very similar sites to appear like the original, but the story and the viewpoint is very different. Looking at the publication's point of view and who is the author. Have they published anything else? And be suspicious if you can't find the name anywhere else online. The second tip I would give is to pay real attention to the quality and timeliness of fake news. There's spelling errors. Often fake news uses a lot of caps lock to shock the reader, to try and really get that clickbait, dramatic punctuation, a lot of exclamation marks. And is this story current or is it recycled? Is it an older story being taken out of context like we see all the time online? People resharing stories from 2002 to say there's going to be a lot of snow next week. It gets a lot of clickbait. People go to that advert. But actually, it's a recycled story. It was posted years ago, and people are now using it to create some drama online. The third tip I'd give are make sure you check the sources and citations of your news. Think about, how did you find that article? Was it promoted? Had it been paid? Sometimes when fake news, you see it on Facebook, it will show as sponsored, so someone has sponsored that to make it show up higher in your news feed, to make you more likely to click on it. Is anyone quoted? What do they say? Is it a usual thing for that person to say? Say if it's a prime minister, does it suit their usual views? And check, is this information available on other sites? And another really, really good thing you can do is by taking an image or a quote and doing a reverse search for it online. Is there any more information online about this news? And the final tip I'd give is to say, ask someone who knows. There are loads of websites out there like snoops.com and factcheck.org, and the International Fact Checking Network. There are organizations out there helping people to identify fake news, and people should really make the most of them.
Thank you, Tom. You have been amazing to interview today, and I'm sure these tips will help listeners to identify fake news easier, and hopefully we'll move towards a future with no fake news. Thank you.